We have a really expert panel here for you, as I said earlier. I've got Alison Mitchell and Tony Slavin from Scotland, Susan Parkinson and Liz Woodhouse from the Southeast, and from my own region, the Northern region, we've got Bertha Kaniangu, apologies Bertha if I've pronounced that wrong, and Sandy Robinson. When they finish, we'll take questions, which you'll be able to ask us by either putting your hand, using the hand up function at the bottom, or put a question into the Q&As if you don't want to ask it yourself, and I can ask that on your behalf. But please hold on till all the speakers are finished so that we can take all of those questions together. So let's start with Scotland, as the motion to make Year of Disabled Workers, or 2021 originally, but now 2022, the Year of Disabled Workers originally came from them in the first place. So we have Alison Mitchell and Tony Slavin, who are key activists on the Scottish Disabled Members Committee, and Tony also represents Scotland on the National Disabled Members Committee. So over to you, Alison and Tony.
Thanks very much, Angela, and hi everybody for it. Thanks for attending. Angela's right, the motion came from Scotland, so we've always felt great pressure to make a difference in our region. I'm going to touch on our approach and activities within the region that we're doing, and Tony's going to talk through about some of the wider union stuff and political activity that we're taking forward this year. First of all, it was important to us that our own committee had the right skills to take this forward. So earlier in the year, we organised a political awareness course that wasn't linked to any particular political party. It was just to give us an understanding of the benefits of being politically aware when it comes to raising disability issues. And we also organised some digital organising training that's just been made available in our region, just so that we're making best use of our Facebook page. We have a media group already established within our committee, and we've been trying to be quite focused on taking forward a proper communications and campaign strategy. With the help of the region, who are really supportive, we set up a campaigns page so that the site's there and it acts as a repository for information that we put up, or signposting to yourselves or any other regions if there's information there. And we can hear back and publish some of the work that the branches across Scotland will be doing. We've also got a Facebook page that we're making proactive attempts to keep up to date. And we always do, but we're making more use of publishing articles. We've got our own Scotland in Unison newsletter that goes out about 6 times a year. So we've made a commitment to publishing every one of them. We do our own newsletter each year, and we've also published in the Scottish Left Review. So any opportunity that we can get to promote the year, we will. One of the first things that we did, we came up with the concept of asking branches to make the pledge to carry out an activity on behalf of disabled workers within their workplace. We put a communication out about it, and we asked them to identify a disability contact so that we've got a point of contact with every branch to keep up to speed with what they're doing, and so they can get information as quickly as possible about what we are doing to support them and what the NDMC are doing more widely as well. We asked them if they would place the Year of Disabled Workers as a standing agenda item in their branch committee, and that was to make sure that they stay focused on it throughout the year and it doesn't just fall off when something more pressing comes up. And finally, to commit to at least one activity and to let us know about it so that we can promote it as part of the whole year. We did get an initial response back, but not as good as we hoped. So we're following that up. We've produced some postcards, and we're attending our Scottish Council next week with a stall, basically again asking branches to make the pledge, and we'll just hobble them when they come through the door so that they have to sign up or they won't get back out the hall. We stall set up in May as well at our branch disability officers training weekend. Again, that will be a further attempt to catch any branches that haven't already made the commitment to make the pledge and that we don't have a disability contact for. In terms of some of the stuff we're doing for our regions, it's not all of it, but we have a reasonable adjustments input that we developed last year, and we deliver that to any branch that requests it. And we've also been developing since last year a disability training module with Thomson solicitors who will co-deliver it with us. And our hope is we'll pilot that at the end of the year and roll it out. And that will be part of our legacy going forward, because it's important to us that Year of Disabled Workers doesn't stop in 2022, and that there is some legacy behind that will help branches and reps be able to support disabled members and look after their interests. We're running some webinars ourselves, not as many as some other people are doing. We ran one the other week with Disability Union, which is a community group across the UK. We've got one in May with Access to Work, talking about their Access to Work service and their mental health service. Hope we get a good attendance at that and be really practical for a lot of disabled members that rely on reasonable adjustments. And we're hoping later in the year to do one that's more political and try and get some firm policy commitments at a Scottish Government level, so that we can really, again, make a difference and an impact to disabled members. One of the other things we've been doing is building a list, and that we were going to put out a survey this year just to try and see if there were other activities we could do, or what else disabled members were telling us that would benefit them. After we received the training, we saw the importance of actually building up our own list so that we get direct contact with branches, because we often find that branches are so busy, if we're emailing them, it just gets lost in amongst all the other email. And in a sense, branches then act as gatekeepers to us being able to contact disabled members directly. So we've developed a survey that's going to be put out in bite-sized chunks through the year. And through that, we'll grow our list. We also have signed up for Alchemar to be able to do surveys through the year, to be able to do evaluations through the year for any of the webinars that we do. So we are doing quite a lot, but Angela's right, it's come from our region. We have been working on it quite a lot from last year. And as far as we're concerned, it doesn't really matter where regions and branches are at the moment in the Year of Disabled Workers process, whether you've done a lot, whether you're just in the starting line, or whether you've done nothing, because it is important to us, as I said earlier, that Year of Disabled Workers extends beyond 2022. I'm going to pass you over to Tony, who can take you through some of the wider stuff we're doing.
Thanks for that, Alison. I'm in a sort of fortunate position. I'm the chair of the STUC Disabled Workers Committee, and I had the opportunity to send a motion to our Congress in April supporting 2022, the Year of the Disabled Worker. And we're expecting to have a banner with Year of the Disabled Worker logo, along with all the affiliates logos on the banner. We will then have leading officers of the unions, like I'm part Rafferty, Free GMB or whatever, and I support UNISON's 2022 Year of the Disabled Worker. So get a banner and get these people to stand in front of it for our Congress. Now, I realise other regions don't have that opportunity, but why don't we use the same idea and have regional committee members stand in front of the banner saying the same thing? Or have regional events do the same? Get your councillors in front of a banner as well. Anything that promotes the Year of the Disabled Worker. Have an event and drag somebody in front of this banner, take a wee video shot or whatever, and that gets you moving, that gets you started, that gets it moving outside of just your normal regional stuff. We had one of our committee members speak at an Equalities Fringe event at the Labour Party conference, and we're lobbying for the SNP and the Greens to speak at their Equality Fringe events, where we will be promoting the Year of the Disabled Worker. We'll be doing the same thing, we'll be speaking at it, and we will make sure that our banner will be there. We're trailing this banner everywhere we go. Our banner will be there front and centre, and we'll have as many politicians standing in front of it saying that they support 2022 being UNISON's Year of the Disabled Worker. We have Pam Duncan-Glancy, who is a disabled Labour MSP. She's raising a motion in the Scottish Parliament about 2022 being the year of disabled worker. And we will be in the Parliament building when that happens. And we will also have our banner waving session outside the Parliament, where we're hoping to have the press and television news there to promote the year of the disabled worker. Alison mentioned this, but it's very, very true. This has to be a legacy and not just a one-year event. We want people 10 years from now to say, when a reasonable adjustment has been successfully negotiated by one of our stewards, do you know when we started winning these commitments by the employer? When we started to be good at this? And they'll say, yeah, yes, it goes back to 2022. The year of the disabled workers. So that's the stuff we're doing outside the region and making it a wee bit more political, but at the same time spreading it all over the other affiliates and the other unions to make it as big and as wide and as long lasting. 10 years from now, people should still be talking about it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Alison and Tony. And you're very, very right there. It is important that the year of disabled workers isn't the end, it's the start and the beginning. So I'm now going to hand over to Liz Woodhouse, who is an area organiser in the South East, and she's Secretary of Regional Disabled Members Committee in that area, and to Susan Parkinson, who is a member of the South East Regional Disabled Members Committee, as well as being on National Disabled Members Committee. So over to you, Susan and Liz.
Thank you. Susan, is it okay? Do you want me to start off with a bit of information about our webinars?
Yeah, sure. So
Okay.
welcome everyone. Thank you all for attending and taking some time out. I know it's how important it is your evenings when you've done a full day at work and you come home, you want your tea, but thank you for coming anyway. So I'm Susan Parkinson, I'm from the South East, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about our webinars that we've been introduced onto South East. Afterwards, after I've said a bit, Liz will tell you more in depth, but they are so crucial. This is our year, the Year of Disabled Worker 2022, and we need to ensure that every disabled worker, no matter what sector they work in, needs to be protected, need to reach out if they're not being protected for reasonable adjustments, flexible working, time off for their appointments, going to hospital if you're a disabled worker. Now, one thing that we had a meeting today in the South East, and we're going to do like a campaign. We want to ensure that every branch in our region in the South East has a disability officer in our branches, in all the workplaces. It is so crucial. So if you are interested, ask your branch if they have a disability officer. If they do, then ask. If they do, fine, great, reach out and get some more information. If not, think about becoming one, because it is very, very crucial. It's a place in the branch committee that every branch needs a disability officer, because so many of our members are disabled and they're in our workplaces, they're our colleagues, they're our co-workers, and they need our help. So it is crucial. And this year we need to make everyone aware of the disabled workers. We have hidden disabilities, we have visible disabilities, and I enjoy being on the National Committee because you find out so much from other regions, and then you can bring that back to your own region in the South East and explain to them what's going on. And we're moving on, but I just feel that we all had a difficult time with the COVID, and the COVID is still here. It's not gone away anywhere, although the government would like you to think so. And I know that the numbers are going up in different regions and different areas. So we have to protect our staff members. We have to protect them, because if you are disabled, you're more likely to be vulnerable to COVID, even if you've had vaccines, if you've been able to have the vaccines, that is, of course, because some those of you who are not able to have the vaccine, so you need to be protected and be able to work flexible from home, have an agile working policy or a disability passport in place with reasonable adjustments that need to be set in stone. It needs to be there as part of your contract of work. So not just something that they give you and, you know, and that you're just going to go away. Access to work, that needs to be encouraged and more people to know about it. So there is lots for us all to do. We all have to take some sort of ownership. We also have to signpost our colleagues, those in our workplace who are unsure about where to reach out for help. Look at your policies within your workplaces and check everything to make sure that what you're entitled to, you're actually getting. You're protected. We're all protected under the Equality Act. Make sure that if they're not listening, that you have to raise concerns and then shout from the rooftops, because you're worth it. We're all worth it. So I'll pass over to Liz now. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. So some of the webinars that we've been able to start this year, we've tried to do them on a monthly basis. So in January, we had the Disabled Members Working from Home and Reasonable Adjustments webinar, and they're just an hour long across the lunch time. Then in February, I did the Cancer in the Workplace for World Cancer Day. In March, Understanding Epilepsy on International Epilepsy Day. And we're due now, April the 4th, to have an autism awareness for World Autism Awareness Day on the 2nd of April. In May, we're planning dealing with asthma in the workplace for World Asthma Day. Understanding learning disabilities and in Learning Disability Week, that's happening in June. And in July, we've got long COVID and post-viral disorders. In August, endometriosis awareness. In September, Understanding Dementia for World Alzheimer's Day. In October, the mental health awareness for World Mental Health Day. And then the disability pay gap. This is a really important one, and that will be running in November. So we also want to try and do some other events and get those organised for November. And then Understanding Access to Work. This is the second time, because we've also put that on in March, early March. But the important thing is that our education team have written these workshops for us. And if there's a low turnout and they don't run, then we've got them to run again later in the year. That's the kind of thing that we're planning to do with those. And also we've heard from LAOS, the national team for learning and organising, and they want to tap into a couple of those workshops, particularly the Access to Work one. So hopefully that means that will be more widely available. So not just in the southeast. And then the other one that they're interested in is the Understanding Access to Work as well. Some of the other things we're doing are we want to get a toolkit ready, sort of as a web page. Now I'm not very technical, but what we want to do is kind of signpost a lot of the things that National are doing on this web page, and we also want to explain how to set up a disabled members group or a disabled members SOG. Just really, as Sue was saying earlier, try to encourage more members to think about declaring a disability to UNISON and getting involved in this year of the disabled worker. So that's all I have to say really, but yeah, it's very exciting. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Susan and Liz. That was really useful. Just wanted to quickly point out there, because both Susan and Liz mentioned it, we do have a lot of resources to help with bargaining on UNISON's web pages. If you click on the link to disabled members on UNISON's web pages, there's lots and lots of bargaining guides and information and useful resources on there that it would be really helpful. That might be really helpful to you in the workplace. So now we're going to go over to our final region, which is my own region, the Northern region. I like to say we're the best region, but I guess I'm a little bit biased there because we're all brilliant in Unison. So I'm going to introduce Bertha and Sandy. They are both very active in disabled members in the Northern region, and they also both represent Northern region on National Disabled Members Committee. So I'll hand over to you, Sandy and Bertha.
Evening, everybody.
Hello there. Sorry about that. I hadn't unmuted. I hope everyone can hear me. And I know that it's been a busy day for everyone, so I won't keep you long. What I would like to say, about our region is it's a new approach for us, and we wanted to make sure that all branches were aware of what the Year of the Disabled Workers is all about, and hopefully attend some of the national events and activities before we started running our own program. So what we've done in the Northern region, we've already set up a working group to create and deliver the program, but we still want more disabled members to get involved. So we're still working on that. And our program includes training events and social media activities. And we've given each section a different name, and we're hoping to launch our activities in May. So this is also an encouragement to branches out there who feel that maybe they haven't started doing anything and they feel left behind. You don't need to feel like that. There's still time to get something going, because we're all in it together. And we're also developing a program of training sessions, which will be aimed at members who are disabled and members who aren't, but we're still adding ideas to this. And the topics we plan to cover will include the social model of disability, importance of self-declaration, supporting disabled members in your branch, and setting up a branch disabled members SOG. And I would just like to make a point about this one. I've just recently, 2 weeks ago, become the disabled members branch officer for our branch. So I'll be working on that and looking into that in educating people on the Year of the Disabled Member. And also other things that we're going to look at are the Disability Employment Charter, and issues around long COVID. So on that note, I'll hand over to my colleague, Sandy, who's gonna look at disability matters, jumping on board and celebrating disability. I'll hand over to you, Sandy.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bertha. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we're just discussing about disability matters. We're going to use social media to deliver some short and snappy videos and vlogs on the Northern Region Disabled Members Facebook page. We're calling these Disability Matters, and there will be in a range of different formats and on different topics. We plan to use animation as well as talking head style videos to share information about issues that are important to disabled members in particular and disabled people in general. Jump on board. This part of the programme is where we get involved with other events and activities. We plan to use events like the Mela and Pride to share information about the Year of the Disabled Workers. We will include activities that are relevant to the target audience of the events, and where possible, include activities to help children and young people understand disability. Celebrating disability. We successfully applied to the region for some funding to hold an event later in the year, possibly during Disability History Month. We want this event to be a celebration of disabled workers and hope to open it up to employers and the public. We're still in the early stages of planning this event, so we can't say too much yet, except that we hope it will help change people's outlook on employing disabled people. And also where I work as well, we are having tables within the NHS where I work as soon as we are allowed. You know, when COVID says we can go back in and do Year of the Disabled for 2022. So I'm hoping as soon as we can sort something out. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sandy and Bertha. I think it's really great to hear about the range of different events and activities that have been organised throughout the year, some small, some large, you know, something that everybody can get involved in. And I think that's really, really important. So we're now going to open the discussion up for your questions. Anything you want to ask our panel? As I said at the beginning, you can use the hands up icon to ask your question. We will then unmute you and you'll be able to ask your question. As I said, you won't be seen on video, but your voice will be heard and we are recording that. So if you don't want your voice to be heard, or you would rather somebody else asks the question on your behalf, please just include it into the in the chat. There's a Q&A, sorry, not the chat, the Q&A at the bottom. Button at the bottom, if you just click on that, sorry, you can add a question in and I'll read that out to the panelists and we'll get an answer for you as soon as we can. So it's over to you guys, really. Who's going to be first up? Oh, we've got a nice comment there. It's not a question as such, but somebody's saying that they can really recommend the disability officer training because they were on the last course and found it really, really useful. So that's really good to know. I think we appreciate hearing those things. And I'm sure we'll feed that back to the trainers who delivered that course on our behalf. It's really good to know that people have enjoyed it. So we've got a question here. Has anyone noticed how many organisations for the support of disabled people have disappeared? Yeah, that is true. I've noticed that there's a lot less than there used to be, particularly I know in the northern region. So I don't know if any of the other panelists have noticed that a lot of those disabled people's organisations and groups that support disabled people have disappeared or maybe gone out of business. Is there anyone would like to come in and answer that question? Perhaps we could have Tony. What do you think? Have you noticed those organisations disappearing?
What I have noticed is when you go down your main street, the main street has certainly changed, and that has changed to a terrible degree. Whereas it's mainly charities or other sort of things. I think what has happened is because of the pandemic, there is a lot of the organisations are still there, but they have moved online, and it's difficult to sort of, where you used to be able to speak to somebody face to face, you have to contact them online, and I think that is why it looks as if they're disappearing. I hope the organisations are still there. We're still identifying and meeting up with advocacy groups for people with disabilities, and we're bringing them on board, and we're talking to them. Disability Union's certainly one that we've started to work with. So hopefully they're still there. They're just maybe there, that it's just maybe harder to get a hold of them, Angela. I think that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, I think you could be right. It might be a bit more to do with the
Yeah.
COVID and people not quite getting back to work yet. I've got Katrina Murray has her hand raised and wants to ask a question. Perhaps we can bring Katrina online.
Hi all, nice to hear you, nice to see you, and it's been a really good session so far. Question that I was wanting to ask is it's all well and good talking about this year, but actually every year should be the year of the disabled worker, and how do we make sure that we have a legacy and we don't, because in UNISON we're very good at moving on to the shiny new thing. We don't move away from all of the activity that we've done this year, as good as it is.
That's an excellent question, Katrina. And as I believe it was Alison's branch that brought the motion, I'm going to bring Alison in first. Panelists the opportunity to have a think about what they think we can do to keep this on going. So Alison, over to you.
Thank you to the two of you. That's featured really heavily in how we've tried to deliver as a region, which is why we've placed quite a lot of emphasis on upskilling branch stewards. In our region there is equalities training, but it's just a generic overview of the Equalities Act and looking at discriminations around disability. It doesn't go into any depth, so the courses that we're doing will cover the history of disability, looking at attitudes and assumptions that people make about disabled people, celebrating disability, where we're looking at positive role models that people can identify with, so that they don't think that there's nothing that they can't do. Also looking around the legislation as well, around disability, and trying to be a wee bit more inventive about how we use it. And finally, looking at unions and the place of unions and how we organise and campaign around disabilities issues. In terms of legacy that Katrina was talking about, that's one of the reasons that we're wanting to take a political slant, which, to be honest, at the start of the year, it wasn't probably something we had really thought about beyond launching the year with the help of an MSP. But very, very quickly we've realised if we want to make a permanent impact, we actually have to be able to engage with the politicians who've got the power to make the changes in Scotland when it comes to legislation around disability. And that's one thing we started off. It is trial and error because we're volunteers, we're new at some of the stuff that we're doing, so it's not always going to be perfect, but certainly I think even in terms of our own committee, I think this has given us a push to be much more proactive. We always did something every year, but we maybe haven't done quite as much. We'd never dabbled in webinars before, which we've done, and actually although there's a bit of organising behind it, it is something I think that we'll keep on doing to make sure that we can still reach out to members and still help different branches. In terms of our own branch, we've actually used Year of Disabled Workers to basically go with a bargaining agenda around disability, with a list of asks that we want to be able to put forward to the councillors in our local government branch, and hope to secure some permanent changes for disabled members in our own organisation. So at a regional level, and then certainly in my own branch, we're hoping that there are some changes made that will make a permanent change. And as far as our own committee is concerned, that we've learned new skills and we're more confident about what we're doing to be able to keep doing other work in the years to come to support our disabled members in Scotland.
Thank you, Alison. I think that's a really good answer there. Maybe I can bring somebody in from the Southeast region. Liz, Susan, what are your thoughts about going forward and making sure this stays?
Definitely. I think what it is, we move on from here, the disabled worker year 2022. But I think what it is, every year going forward, we need to have a campaign. So I mean that each year we can have a campaign that all the branches all work together to some aim that it supports all our disabled members. And every year, you know, agree a campaign. And I think, you know, it highlights the fact that we can always look back that the year 2022 started these campaigns and to move forward and work collectively together. Because I think what it is, our members need our support now. And if we can not just have it for 1 year, we need to have it every year going forward. So yeah, definitely. I think that was a very good question, Katrina, because you know, otherwise we just do an event and that's it, job done, we move on. But I think this is something that we need to take on and on into the future. So in 10 years, 20 years time, we need to be looking forward all the time and how we can support our disabled members. Thank you.
Okay, so what about from the Northern region? Bertha, Sandy, you got any thoughts on how we keep the work going?
Hiya, Angela. Well, I do about 3 or 4 tables. Well, I call them tables, activities every year on different things. But many people where I work don't class themselves as disabled because they don't actually realise that certain things that they have wrong with them are classed as disabled. So when I first started being disabilities officer, I was told that there was only one person in the whole hospital, which have over 5,000 members, that was disabled. And I thought, well, that's impossible. But like you say, they won't give you any figures or anything like that. So I just try by word of mouth, speaking to people. And like I say, try and do activities, try to keep things moving really. But like being on the NDMC now, I'm learning more things to do and ways to do it basically. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I am going to bring different people in to answer different questions if that's all right with everybody. But I noticed Tony's got his hand up there. Tony, did you have something to add to this? Or was it a like?
No, I did. It's just before you move on, Angela. I know times it's quite tight, but the area of the disabled worker is like it's like a shiny new shilling, and you'll have other groups want to try to not take it, but certainly want a piece of it. So with the transsectionality that we have, we've got the black members and we've got the LGBT and women's, which is absolutely great. They want to organise events along with us, and I think if we keep this just to ourselves, it's going to die out very quickly. So we need to look at how we're going to branch out and how we're going to spread this about to every part of equalities and beyond, and beyond equalities to everybody else. So certainly we've got an opportunity here that through transsectionality we can start to talk about it to other equality strands. Thanks.
Excellent, thanks Tony. And I think it's important to note that our General Secretary, Christina McNee, has been really supportive for the Year of Disabled Workers, and I think she will continue to be supportive and help us to make sure the profile of disabled workers continues to be raised. One of my suggestions nationally, I haven't got permission for this, so I'm just going to say it and we'll see if it comes about, is that we have some sort of annual award for a disabled member who's achieved a lot in the workplace or who's achieved a lot within UNISON. So I know black members have the Nelson Mandela Award and young members have an award. So we're looking at the possibility of doing something like that as well, which I think we could then use in newsletters and magazines that go out to highlight things. So I've now got Sarah Barwick who has her hand up. Sarah, welcome. Can we have your question, please? I think we've got Sarah on mute. Could somebody?
Oh, is that better? Can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Angela. Couple of questions. First of all, I don't know if I'm the regional chair of a South East Region Disabled Members Group, and I don't know if Liz, you can put on the information regarding the link to where people can get the webinars for the South East, please. Thanks.
Absolutely.
We had our regional meeting today and there was a couple of questions that came up regarding the pre-conference SOG meetings. There was questions about instead of being in just in London, could they not also be hybrid meetings? So that was one. I know there's a lot of technical issues, but there's also a lot of people with disabilities that want to get more involved but feel they can't or are unable to travel. Oh, thanks to Susan for telling me about this meeting, because I missed it in all the emails you get. So we seem to be almost going over again and again what we've done. As you know, Angela, I've been in disabled members group for a long time. Something else was raised today about disabled members leave or disability leave. And sometimes I don't think we keep pushing things where we've won. We have a policy, we have draft policies. So, and it just seems to be all the time we go almost backwards. Again, we're looking at motions for the Disabled Members Conference, and one of the other things we were talking about was strengthening the Equalities Act to make it better at actually ensuring that the law was followed, because there's a lot of issues. People are being forced to leave because of their disabilities. Recently, I had a case where a private sector company was saying lupus was not a disability. And I had to sort of say, well, here's the guidelines. Have you asked your occupational health? So there's a lot of ignorance still out there with private and voluntary companies and also members. And we really need to encourage members to come forward and highlight their disabilities and actually forcefully tell some employers you are really breaking the law. Thank you.
Okay, that's an excellent comment there, Sarah. Disability leave is really important. So I'm going to maybe speak. Let's see who didn't speak on the last question. Has anybody got anything they'd like to say on disability leave policies? Does anybody have any really good examples of them? Any of our panelists would like to come in on that? Susan.
Yes, that's one of the things I raised today. We've got a disability passport in my trust, an NHS trust, but disability leave is something that's crucial that we need to fight for our members, because so many of them are having to take either annual leave, unpaid leave, or toil. And I just think that it's unacceptable. If you're disabled and you need to go for appointments, then it should be a given. It should be that you're allowed to do this, and it should be part of your reasonable adjustment in your passport that enables you to attend appointments in relation to your disability, and you haven't got to use annual leave. Annual leave is precious, and we need that for them to have to go on holiday or recover, and that, because working full time for a lot of people is very difficult, and they need annual leave to get away from work, but they don't want to use it for appointments where it should be a given. So yeah, I definitely think that we should be fighting for our members for disability leave.
Okay. Tony, you've got your hand up there.
Thanks, Angela. I work for a local authority, and we don't have disability leave, and we're fighting for it, and we're halfway trying to make sure that we get it for our members. Now, an example I have is we get special leave when we have to go to hospital for any appointments for disability. So if I have to go every third Tuesday to a hospital to get chemotherapy, and every time I go, I ask my manager, and he's absolutely fine, no problem, on you go. And I'll tell you what, take the next day off because I know you'll feel really bad. That is fine. But if I've had to do that 20 times in a row, and I'm a human being as well, so if I had a wee lassie, I used to tell this story when she used to skin her knee when she was at primary school. She's now at university. So if she skins her knee at university and I have to go and get her and bring her home, I have to go to my manager and ask for special leave. Now, I've already asked them 20 times in the past 20 months, or even less than that, for special leave. So I'm feeling guilty about that. So I am being made feel guilty about my disability, and that is a no-no.
Exactly. Disability leave should be different to other types of special leave. That's really important. Got a couple of questions in the chat here, which I think we can just quickly answer. One person was saying they're a disability officer in the branch, but didn't realise there were support events and training, etc. available. How do they find out about them? Well, the national events normally for the training for disability officers. But if you contact your regional disabled members group, they should be able to let you know what's going on in the region, or you should have an officer in your region who will be able to help you with that. We've also got, it says in Unison's rule book, is disability officers a role in the rule book? It is, but it's not a role that you have to have. It's not one of the ones that, you know, sort of branch secretary, branch chair, every branch has to have one of those. So the disability officer's role is an optional role, because some branches are quite small and might not have enough people to have all of those roles, whereas other quite large ones like my own, we do have those. Now I've got a lady who I can only see part of your name, called Tracy, who had a hand up, but I'm not sure if her hand's gone down now because my computer has frozen on me, so bear with me. Yes, Tracy Morrigan, and then all I can say if the next is an R. So hopefully one of our wonderful technicians and support officers here can come in and can spot who that is and bring Tracy in.
I've been health and safety rep, and also just remember I got diabetes, but last year I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. And I had a nightmare support at work. I worked for a local authority, which should know better, but I worked in a residential care home. And a lot of people were coming to me asking me, what can I do? They won't let me go off. I've got a hospital appointment. It's due to this condition or that condition, or that they know about, but they won't let me off. I have to swap with people. I have to take annual leave. And one person had a lot of trouble because her daughter had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetic. And she really, really struggled because they wouldn't let her take off leave. And her daughter was in A&E 4 times in a week, and they still wouldn't let her leave. So disability leave needs to be really high on the list that we act on. And it's somewhere where we can actually show we're actually doing something. Because a lot of people say, you don't do anything. But I can guarantee access to work is brilliant. Once I manage to get there, it's really good. And Unison's been brilliant as well.
Well, we're really pleased to hear that Unison's been brilliant, Tracy, and access to work. But I'm sorry to hear you've had such a difficult time in your workplace. You can ask for time off, even if you don't have a disability leave policy, as a reasonable adjustment. So that might be a route to go down, but it might be worth you getting involved with your regional disabled members group and seeing if they can maybe help and support you. So let's say, is there anybody would like to come in on this issue that Tracy's raised there? Susan?
Hi, Tracy. Tracy, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and your colleagues. What you need to do, if you hopefully your workplace or you can have access to, is occupational health. Now, if you've got access to occupational health, you can explain your underlying health conditions, what reasonable adjustments would help you to support you in going to your appointments without having to take annual leave. Now, if you haven't got an occupational health department, then your next step is, if you're not a steward, reach out to your stewards group within your workplace and get them involved, get your local stewards, if you've got a convener or a regional officer, area officer, get them on board, seek support, fill out a case form and get people helping you, because basically you have an entitlement. You shouldn't be frightened to ask. And I think that, you know, you should be worried and fearful. You need to speak up, and I'm glad you are. You come to the meeting and you raise this query in question, but reach out to the people. If you can, if the last person is, or if your GP, get your GP to write something on a fit note that basically says that you're fit to work, but you do need to have reasonable adjustments to attend appointments. Okay, so take on board, reach out, and all the support you can get. All right, thank you.
So if we've got anybody else would like, any of the other panelists would like to come in on this question? Okay, so I've got a question in the chat and I'm going to ask it to all of the panelists. So be prepared for your answer. And the question is, what would you like to see come out of Year of the Disabled Workers? So if I go to Liz first.
What I'd like to see is more young disabled workers coming forward. That would be great. And because I think that helps us with our sort of succession planning, so young disabled workers getting more involved in activism.
That's a great answer, because it is really important to see young members getting involved, and we struggle to get some young workers involved in disabled members. So I'm going to move to Bertha.
Hi, Angela. Somehow I thought you were going to call me next. Anyway, what I would like to say is I'm new to the National Disabled Members Committee, and new as well to the regional group. And like what I would like to see is more people coming forward. So I would like to support people who usually wouldn't come forward and come into these groups. So I would like to see more of them coming forward and giving them as much support as I have received to make this happen for them as well. Thank you.
Good to know you feel supported, Bertha. And I will go to Tony next.
Thanks, Angela. It's got to be legacy. It's got to be that it has to extend more than just 2022. And I think Lizzie's comment helps along with mine to make sure that there is a progression and there is some sort of succession plan. We need the young team in, and we need to support them when they come in. So that would be what I would hope for.
Okay. And Susan?
I'd like to see at the end of this that we do have a disability officer in all of our branches and workplaces moving forward. That would be a real challenge, but it will be something that we can then take forward into 23 and 24 and 25 and so on. It is such an important role within all branches, and we need to encourage all of us to encourage in our workplaces to get a disability officer to help all those who can't help themselves, and also to encourage those who do have a disability but are scared to come forward because of the repercussions they might get from their line manager. So I've got many people in the NHS who are scared to disclose their disability because of fear of being dismissed or being treated differently. So to encourage people to stand up for their rights and to be counted.
That's a very good answer as well. Sandy, you're next.
Hi, Angela. I would like to see more work done on hidden disabilities, because I think, as I say, the hidden disabilities, people don't know about autism, etc., things like that. So even, I mean, I'm registered severely sight and impaired, but I don't use a cane, but like that's a hidden disability. I think we need to do more on things like that.
Yeah. Just to add into what you said there, we had an excellent presentation in our region at the Disabled Members AGM from a young woman who has autism, and she was really fantastic and brought a whole different perspective to things, I think, for all of us who were on that meeting. So finally, in the answer to this question, I'm going to hand over to Alison, because I thought it would be good to start where we finished.
Well, thank you, no pressure. I think it's a fabulous question, actually, puts everybody in the spot, including me. Probably a few things. Internally, we would really like to see a lot more interest and participation in branches and regions in disability issues, and recognition that it is actually a core part of union activity. It's not just about disabled members as a bolt-on, but actually Year of Disabled Workers is a concern for all workers in the workplace and not just disabled workers. In the workplace, I'd like to see better informed stewards that not only challenge poor practice by managers, but actually that are challenging themselves and perhaps the unconscious bias that they bring to when they're supporting people that come to them for help. And finally, was at a higher level, it's looking at the government, proper recording and meaningful recording of robust disability statistics so that we really understand the nature and the prevalence of disability across the UK, but also robust scrutiny and challenge by the government as well, so that employers can't just renege on their responsibilities or do a tick box exercise to say they're a disability competent employer when they're absolutely not. So a few different levels of asks.
Excellent, Alison. That gives us just a couple of minutes to wind up, and then we'll be at the end. Just to reiterate what Alison said there, the Disability Employment Charter that UNISON is a founder member of includes all those things around disability confident being made into something real and tangible that we can use to hold the government and employers to account, amongst lots of other things. And our motion on that will be going to Trade Union Congress, which is really good news because it means that all of the trade unions will be getting on board and supporting that as well, and not just UNISON pushing this forward. So I'd like to thank all of the staff who've helped deliver this event tonight. I think they've been absolutely fantastic and we couldn't do what we do without them. Our staff are a credit to our union, and I think we sometimes take them a little bit for granted. So thank you to all of our staff. I'd like to thank all of the brilliant panelists. I think you've done a fantastic job. You're all very, very knowledgeable and know so much about what's going on in the world of disability. And most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us and listening and watching today. I hope it's given you a lot of ideas about how you can get involved in the Year of Disabled Workers. I hope you'll encourage your branches to, your regions to, your employers to, and as many people out there as you can to get involved in supporting Year of Disabled Workers, because the best way to make it a success is to have everybody supporting it. So thank you very much for coming along today, and please do enjoy the rest of your evening. And we hope to see you all again soon. Oh, and finally, there will be an event at National Delegate Conference for any of you who are there. So keep an eye out for those signs saying Year of Disabled Workers all around the conference. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you.